There could finally be some good news in the homicide investigation of teen Celeste Rivas Hernandez. We are hearing at Los Angeles Magazine from our independent sources, as well as TMZ's independent sources, that an indictment could be coming soon and that David Anthony Burke might be the one indicted. Now, many of you are probably thinking, okay, well, that's obvious. He should be indicted. If it's that obvious, then why hasn't he been indicted yet? And look, I agree with you here. I personally thought, based on everything that I have researched, everything that I have learned about this case, yes, I felt like there should be enough evidence for him to be indicted. Clearly there wasn't. But again, what we are learning is that with this grand jury having been convened in November, that between the evidence, the witnesses, possibly David's iCloud data, all of this has hopefully proven to the DA's office that an indictment can be issued and that David can be the one indicted. Now, if you follow this channel and you follow our reporting, Mark Garagos, high profile criminal defense attorney, joined me on a live stream about 3 weeks ago, and he detailed a few different things that were really, really interesting here and about this case. First of all, we discussed the difference between an investigative grand jury and just a regular grand jury panel. And I was like, well, wait a minute, Mark. This grand jury, I mean, we were told they can't recommend any charges, just subpoenas. And he said, Lauren, I don't think it matters at this point. This case, the LAPD has been so tight-lipped at this point, it doesn't matter what kind of grand jury it is. Hopefully, it will result in an indictment or charges just based on everything that is being presented. And investigative grand juries, they can take months, they can take weeks, or they can take years. So this is a good sign that sources are saying they are getting closer. And look, the sources close to this case saying this, I trust them. I believe them. I need water. Now, I wrote an article today on Los Angeles Magazine that I will add here to the screen. And I will take you through just quickly what Garagos had said to us previously about this grand jury. He had said, I'm not sure the type of grand jury matters anymore given the major secrecy around the case. Quote, the cynic in me says the reason they're using the grand jury is to figure out what's happening without public scrutiny and to identify who, if anyone, is criminally liable. They want this, quote, close to the vest. Okay, totally agree. And again, I was under the impression initially finding a body in the trunk or the frunk of somebody's car would immediately result in some kind of arrest. And then I learned that in California, concealment of a body is a misdemeanor, and that's all they would be able to charge one with upon finding this body. So when someone is arrested for a misdemeanor, it's pretty easy just to release them. They don't need to be held necessarily. So I found that to be pretty telling and pretty interesting. Now, I just keep thinking about what our sources also said, and I believe TMZ said the same, is that there are many other witnesses to be called. They have a long list that will most likely bleed into February. So at this point, again, they are getting closer, but it might not happen for a while. Okay, we need to be patient. We have been patient thus far, but I also kept thinking about the witnesses, the other witnesses that a grand jury possibly would call if they haven't called them already. I'm wondering, will they call Celeste's parents? Maybe. Will they call Celeste's teacher? If you recall, her teacher seemed to know a lot about who Celeste was quote unquote dating when this whole story first broke. Will they call Celeste's friends? Did she have friends that were over 18? I mean, will they call more people from the record label? Will they call David's family? I have to think yes, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. I do want to pull up part of TMZ's report to also show you guys, because they also did some great reporting on this. And look, again, regardless what you may or may not think about TMZ, I personally think they've been right about almost everything. At this point, we obviously don't know the state of Celeste's body when it was found conclusively. And I always apologize for this. I always apologize for being so direct because she was a beautiful young girl that should still be with us. But everything TMZ said has been accurate so far. We don't know if she was frozen at some point or her corpse was frozen, obviously. But eventually, I think we will find these things out. So that's been the only thing, in my opinion, that has sort of remained in question, because even the LAPD confirmed David's Santa Barbara trip when TMZ reported it. So let me just play quickly TMZ's video from today.
Update. I think the update that everybody has been waiting for regarding the David case in the murder of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Now, we released a video about a week ago giving you guys an update. A lot of people in the comments thought that this was more of a recap than an update. We think we gave you guys a lot of updates, but feel free to dispute that in the comments. For those who didn't see the video, I'll give you a quick recap right now. We spoke about Robert Morgenroth, who is the general manager of Mogul Vision, which is David's music label. He was also the president of Zara Brothers Travel LLC. Now, we spoke about his testimony before the grand jury in the courtroom. We have some producers who were in the hallway outside of that courtroom who caught some conversation between Morgenroth and his lawyer. Morgenroth told his lawyer that the judge inside of that courtroom was questioning him on why he didn't call the police. Now, we can only guess what the judge was asking him about, but we can conjecture that it was Celeste Rivas and why he didn't call the police regarding something that had...
I'm just going to stop this for a minute. I feel like it's not the judge that questions him, it's the prosecutor. Normally the judge isn't grilling the witness in grand jury cases, but I mean, I'm assuming they misspoke, but maybe not. But yes, I'm thinking it's the prosecutor, Beth Silverman.
To do with the events leading up to her death. Now, what we also want to confirm, which is not the update we want to give you, Robert Morgenroth is a suspect. There is a much bigger update here that I'll get into in a second. We also spoke about an uncooperative witness who was to be arrested due to not showing up for her testimony. We also spoke about David's midnight trip to a highly remote area in Santa Barbara, which is significant because the police classified this as evidence. Now, what that has to do with the murder of Celeste itself, we have no idea, but an interesting topic to note. Now, the update we want to give today marks a significant turning point in the death of Celeste Rivas. We think it's the biggest update that we've given yet. Now, this update is regarding the grand jury. Now, about a month ago, we here at TMZ reported that this was an investigative grand jury to uncover unknown facts, to identify suspects, and also identify a potential crime in this case. Now, investigative grand juries can be useful to subpoena uncooperative witnesses and force them to testify in front of the grand jury. The public hated the idea of an investigative grand jury because an investigative grand jury carries a connotation that they aren't clear on who committed the murder or what crime was committed exactly. Today, however, we've learned that this was not an investigative grand jury. This was a grand jury, period. And that is pretty significant because a grand jury hands down indictments where an investigative grand jury does not. And we've been told by multiple sources that authorities and the prosecutor, Beth Silverman, believes that David was involved in Celeste Rivas' death. So what does this mean for David? Well, it likely means that he is going to be indicted on the murder of Celeste Rivas. We don't know what the charges are going to be exactly. However, we do think that this is going to be a significant turning point, like I said earlier, in the case. We have people down there around the courtroom who have overheard people in the hallways talking about how they're going to hear witnesses in February of next year. So don't expect an indictment to be handed out straight away, but still a very significant piece of news regarding...
Okay, so there you go. You remove this. I mean, I am thinking that if anything, and this is just purely a guess, we will know and we will have an arrest by the spring of 2026, if I had to guess. I hope sooner. I really do. But I think that we have to continue to be patient and we have to continue to trust that everything is being done the right way to secure an eventual conviction. because again, I have said so many times that so many people failed this poor young girl, Celeste, and she deserves justice. And we can't have anything messing that up because sadly, our justice system isn't perfect. And there can be clerical or administrative errors. There can be so many things that go wrong with cases that just shouldn't. So I will appreciate that the system is doing the best that they can at this point. Even though I am also on the edge of my seat here, getting very seriously impatient. But I think everything that we've learned thus far, on the record, off the record, would point to David eventually getting indicted. And again, we don't know if he's going to be indicted for homicide, for accessory, for some kind of negligent activity. We don't know. We just have to wait and see. As of right now, no one has been charged, and David has remained out of the public eye, has not said one word, has not been spotted by paparazzi or anyone for that matter. So we will continue to update you here on this YouTube as well as lamag.com. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Lauren Conlin. I'll see you tomorrow for more of our daily pop culture, scandals, and crime news podcasts.